Hi everyone, I wanted to come out for a little hike today, so I thought I would make a video of the most frequently asked questions that I've seen online, just to clarify any things if people are new to hiking, give you some tips. And just help you get to grips with some of the most common issues that people have or think that they're going to have when they're out and about hiking. As is the way with hiking, the weather has changed on me, even though I looked at the weather report and it wasn't accurate. So rather than do a hike and advise, I'm now going to do a sit on my arse and advise. Chafing, that's usually something that people really worry about and want to know how they can stop that from happening, because it can be really sore and horrible to chafe and it can take the fun out of things. One of the first things to do would be wear leggings. Leggings are great. They stop the inside of your thighs rubbing if you struggle with that. Another one would be, if you want to wear shorts, don't wear those shorts with the V elasticated interior, because the seams on those can be really harsh and they can rub on the inside of your leg and your crotch. So I would suggest wearing ones with a cycling short interior, or even just wearing cycling short style shorts altogether. And I know it's a weight issue, but it's nice to have a couple of different fitting shorts, or to have some leggings and some shorts, so that the same areas aren't rubbing over and over again. Similarly with knickers or pants, whatever you want to call them, I would suggest you don't get ones with seams. If you can get seam-free ones, that would be a lot better, or at least not ones with harsh, tight seams that are going to be rubbing over and over again on the same area, because that can cause like some soreness there. Or again, get some different types of pants or knickers. If you wear thongs and then you wear knicker, V-style, low-waisted, high-waisted, just to switch it up a bit. So take a few different pairs and you can alternate between those. Again, with bras, if you can get away with not wearing a bra, I would just go wild and don't, because it's just added hassle and added extra worry for chafing. I would not wear a bra if I could get away with it. Unfortunately I can't, so what I tend to do again is take a couple of bras. I take ones that don't have seams on them wherever possible. I take one with a band underneath and one without a band underneath, so again I'm not rubbing in the same place and causing chafe marks. I tend to take thicker straps, because thinner ones like this can really wear on you after a while and they can rub on your collarbone. Lots of people recommend Body Glide. I've never used it myself, and similar products, like some people use Vaseline or chapstick, and there are other similar products to Body Glide as well. I've seen one person recommend like baby powder, and someone even said cornstarch. I don't know, whatever works for you. Okay, next up is how to prevent hair damage, and it's especially difficult when you have either long hair or you have curly, coily, rough textured hair. I find it quite difficult, and I mean I've straightened it a little bit today, but my hair is quite dry and coarse, so I have issues with it snapping sometimes. Rule number one, I would generally say, like, please avoid using anything like a plastic band. No. Try to avoid using the standard hair bobble or hair band, just the elasticated ones. I would use ones that have a cover on them. Generally I'd use a scrunchie, or I have don't know if you could see that, but ones with velvet over the top of them, so they're softer on your hair. Anything like that, or even a hair grip, to grip into your hair and tie back. They're just much more gentle on your hair. As you hike throughout the day and as you sleep on your hair, you sweat in it, you move it against things like your cap, it gets rained on, it's going to get very tangled. So I would suggest bringing along a comb. Now I usually go for a very wide tooth comb, because the fine tooth combs are going to just get jammed in your hair and they're going to cause tearing and snapping of your hair. So a very wide tooth comb, like an afro comb, or maybe even something wider than that, just to tease through your hair rather than perfectly brush through it. Anything to just get the tangles out and to just give it a little refresh. Another thing I do is plait my hair, and I am guilty of this. I should probably not sleep in my plaits because it pulls on sections as you're rolling around, so I should be taking those plaits out at night just to again brush through my hair, make sure it's not knotty and being pulled on at the roots and hair being pulled out unnecessarily. You have to kind of accept that it's gonna get greasy, so really just washing it wherever you can. You could use dry shampoo on it if you really like, but I think, you know, the oil and having that breakaway from washing it is usually pretty good for it. So I do wear a cap. This is probably a bit of a naughty cap to wear really, because there's rough edges on it and it can rub against your hair. If you've got any with softer edges that can just move against your hair, like glide against it, that's going to be much nicer on your hair. Also, if you have a buff, sometimes I'll wear the buff headband around here and then a cap over the top just to stop that friction from my cap directly against my hair. Here's another important topic, and it's probably one that's very close to a lot of people's hearts, and it's generally how not to be a dick on trail. Number one, we know you love music, as do most people on this planet. Please try not to share it with the whole world, because people are out in nature, they don't want to hear your music being played out loud. They want to hear nature. If you must listen to music, put your headphones in and listen to it that way. Try not to be really, really loud at night, because let's say about 7 p.m. is hiker midnight, because people have been hiking throughout the day, they are knackered, they need a rest, they need a good night's sleep, and they need to probably get up fairly early tomorrow morning. Similarly, getting up in the morning, okay, great, you might need to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, you might love getting up that early in the morning, but being really, really loud about it, zipping everything as loud as you can zippily zip it when other people are trying to sleep and get that much needed rest for another full day's hiking is also not great behaviour. If you're in a country with wild, dangerous animals, then please don't eat in the communal areas, you know, where people sleep, or cook there, because foods and food smells attract wildlife and you could put other people in a dangerous situation. Also, don't hang your food bags in the communal shelters. You're supposed to hang them in trees, like hang them, you know, bare bags, hang them away. I know that might not be applicable to everyone because you might not be hiking in a country with wild animals like that, but that's definitely really important. I can't stress this one enough. Leave no trace that you were ever there. Make sure you pack out all of your rubbish, make sure you pack out your toilet paper, take everything with you. Don't leave massive items that you don't want anymore. Okay, you might have decided that you're on the trail and you didn't need hair clippers. Yes, I've seen that on the trail, left on the side of the trail. That's not anyone else's problem but yours. You take them to the next place and you give them to someone in a town, or you leave them in a hiker box. I don't know who else would pick that up, but just don't leave anything like that in the woods. Leave no trace, okay? And don't wash in water sources, because people need to drink that water. We don't want your dirty body in that water source. Hygiene. This is one that you kind of just have to accept. You are going to smell. You are going to feel pretty gross. Your clothes are going to feel gross. They're going to get saturated in a way that they will never recover from, most likely, especially if you're doing a really, really long thru hike. That said, there are a number of things to help yourself hygienically on trail. You could get a really, really good antiperspirant, and that's if you're into that kind of thing and you use it generally. I tend to use the Shore and Dove Maximum Protection kind of things, because on my armpits, they're ridiculously delicate. When I was traveling in Asia in my gap year, I started to get really sore armpits, and after a couple of days I decided to actually inspect them. I was not so good on the self-care back then. So I inspected my armpits and they were red raw, and I think it was just from the chafing of the sweat and maybe, you know, the salt. I kind of got a salt burn in my armpits, so that's why I use maximum protection deodorants like that. Can stave away some smell. but not really. That's more of a body care. I guess it's hygiene in a way. I brush my teeth as normal. I take a bamboo toothbrush because they're much lighter, and you know, it's good for the environment. Not that I'm going to be leaving a toothbrush there, but yeah, I just like the thought of like having a bamboo toothbrush. This is kind of a lady thing, but everyone has genitals. I give everything a bit of a wash down below with water only, because you know it's never good to use harsh chemicals on intimate environments. But I mainly say it's for ladies because anyone who's prone to thrush or UTIs or anything like that, it's really good to keep yourself clean down there, because any moist or damp environments can just breed bacteria. I avoid any baby wipes or those kind of products, because I'm wasting so much more stuff. I just don't like the thought of all those single-use wipes everywhere, and then it's more to pack out as well. And baby wipes leave this oily residue on your skin, and that is a breeding ground for bacteria. I actually learnt that working in Ann Summers many years ago for about 2 months. They told you not to clean sex toys with baby wipes because it would leave a residue and it would breed bacteria. So it was much better to actually just clean it in a sink with water. Again, as I said before, my hair washing goes way down, and I try to embrace it really, just to let the natural oils go through my hair. If I'm lucky enough to be near some water on a hot day, I'll give my hair a dunk, but you know, you risk knotting it up and like it's wet and knotty and everywhere, especially with curly hair, so I don't really tend to do that. And again, I definitely don't use products in natural water sources. I would just dip my head in and wash my hair through, more for a cooling, freshen up than anything. Similarly with clothes, I don't really tend to wash them until I have a 0 day, or I'm staying at a campsite or something like that, or I pass a laundrette and I've got a couple of hours to kick about and wait for a wash to do. Sometimes rinse out items that can get quite soiled, like sports bras or knickers or things like that. Things that get very sweaty over a period of time, I'll give them a rinse out. But again, I will not do that in a water source. I will take bottled water and tip it over and squeeze it out somewhere. So it's really a rough wash. Medication. How do you get that much medication for a long distance hike? In the UK, if I'm hiking on a trail in the UK, we actually have a service that you can get hold of your doctor, and your doctor will send the script or the prescription over to a pharmacy of your choice. If you didn't know that in the UK, then gen up on it and use it, because it's really helpful. When I went over to hike the Appalachian Trail, I have an underactive thyroid, so I had to get that medication prescribed to me for a certain amount of time. I know that doctors don't like to prescribe over 3 months, and it's not entirely the done thing, but I went to my doctor and I explained the situation to her, that I'd be over in America for at least 6 months, and really I needed my meds for that time. So I showed her the evidence, and she kind of just used her discretion to give me that medication for those 6 months. She did me a solid. The way I keep it is I keep my meds in a Ziploc bag, and I put in some silicone sachets just to make sure it's all dry in there. I don't typically pop them out of their foil packets. It's like an extra layer of protection to have the silicone sachets in with the foil packets as well. Sticking on the topic of health conditions, if you have a mental illness, it can be a worry going out hiking and putting yourself in that new position, especially if you're going out solo hiking. I think it's probably something to consider about how you will cope with a mental health condition. I would actually argue that us people with mental health conditions are generally more resilient, like warriors, yeah. Being out in nature helps me feel more grounded. The exercise gives me dopamine. I've got time with my thoughts. I can think about things and process through things that I haven't been able to process through. It gives me a sense of achievement when I, overcome big miles, or days where the rain's lashing down on me, or just mental challenges or the physical challenges of it. I really find it helpful. It gets me away from the day-to-day hustle and bustle. It gets me away from loud noises of other people, annoying neighbours, loud cars. I hate all of that kind of stuff, because I've got complex PTSD, so all of these sudden loud noises that happen in day-to-day life just drive me mad and they scare me. Speaking of which, here's one now. It's great to challenge yourself, but really if anything becomes too much, there's no shame. Just turn around, go another day, go home, reset yourself, maybe go back out again. Give someone a call who you know is supportive. Give a hotline a call. I'm going to put loads of hotlines in the description for, you know, to talk to someone if you're having mental health problems. Yeah, just look after yourself and make sure that you're okay, and don't let any, you know, pride or sense of failure, my brain loves to tell me that, don't let that kind of stuff get in the way. And if it's become too much, then go home and try it another time. Relationships, and do you go hiking without your significant other? This is something that I have not really had to navigate that many times before, because I've generally been single when I've hiked, so I haven't had to consider someone else. I can understand partners having a worry about safety, that kind of thing, wanting you to be okay, not wanting to be separated from you for a while. Like, they're all very, very natural things to feel. But as long as you can alleviate their worries with safety and maybe, you know, come to a compromise about keeping in touch fairly often, or maybe every night just letting them know your location, or carrying some kind of GPS, or giving them a call now and again as much as you possibly can, because again, you are in the wilderness, so manage expectations, then I think it's good to communicate those things to a partner and really kind of tell them that you're going to do it, though, because you don't want someone to hold you back from the things you love. No one wants to be separated from their partner for a period of time, but if you want to do things, you have things that a partner can't do it, or you have different interests to your partner and they're just not interested in doing that kind of thing, then you might just have to spend a bit of time apart. And no one really wants a partner that is going to hold them back from the things that they want to do in life. I can't really relate to that being that much of a worry, because I probably just wouldn't be with someone who was like that, or who kind of used their anxieties to stop me doing things. I don't really find that healthy in a relationship. Should you be burning fires? Is that right? Is that the right thing to say? Should you have fires? Generally, I would say no. You shouldn't really be burning fires that much unless there's an established rock circle, which is basically, you know, a ring of rocks that someone's created to put a fire in the middle. If it's something that you feel like you have to do out of necessity to keep warm, then create your own rock circle and burn things within that, because rock circles stop the spread of fire along the ground. I'd also really avoid doing it at super dry parts of the year, or near lots and lots of dry overgrowth, undergrowth, because you could start a wildfire like that. If you do make a fire, then make sure it's completely, fully 100% put out when you leave. Pee on it if you have to, throw water on it, and I mean no embers whatsoever, throw dirt all over it. Make sure it's completely put out, because it's a huge fire risk. If you put it out long enough before you leave camp, try and get rid of the rock circle, you know, and scatter it around a little bit so that no one else thinks that that's an established firing, and then it starts being a place that people put fires all the time. And definitely do not be burning your trash or rubbish on the fire. Nothing like that. All of that stuff needs to be packed out. Okay, peeing and pooping. Pretty simple, really. Pooping, you need to dig a cat hole. You can either do that with your heel, with a stick, with a rock, anything you find that's suitable to dig with. You can take little super lightweight hiking trowels with you. You need to be 200 feet, which is around 70 steps away from the trail, and you also need to be that amount away from a water source. And once you've dug your hole, you're basically just going to squat it like it's hot and get really good aim and try and poop in that hole. and cover it over, I'm gonna beg you to pack out your toilet paper and not scatter it everywhere or bury it. Pack it out and take it back with you and throw it in a bin somewhere. Peeing's a little bit easier. Again, stick to the 200-foot 70 stride rule away from the trail and water sources, and squat it like it's hot, or you can do like a semi-squat stand, or you can get like kind of a shiwi type thing where you can do a stand pee. It's a bit easier to maintain your dignity when you're peeing because you can just put like a sarong or a towel around yourself. I just kind of let it all hang out because after a while it gets really old. Oh, and I know this is super gross, but I carry a pee rag with me, so it saves on using toilet roll because I pee all the time. It's just easier to have that to hand because I'll kind of put it on my pack and it will dry out back there. Put a little carabiner and flick my pee rag, and then it repels men that I don't want to talk to as well. No, that's a joke, by the way. And a little splashback tip. If you want to avoid splashback, then pee on soft, squidgy areas because it soaks it up better. If you pee on a rock, you're going to be covered in your own piss. Though, I will add, if you're up in alpine areas where there are mountain goats, it's actually good to pee on rocks because peeing onto the foliage will attract goats. They're attracted to the salt, and then they'll try and dig instinctually to get underneath. If they're digging the foliage, then they're damaging the natural environment in a way that they wouldn't normally do, so it just adds damage if you pee onto things like that. Pee could also burn the plants and things, so that's another little tip for you. Navigation. I tend to use my phone and I use the Guthooks app because it saves a hell of a lot of space in comparison to carrying an entire trail book, which can be wads and wads, especially on a long distance trail. They're freaking awesome though, so I wouldn't suggest not buying one at all and not studying it. And also another good idea to save weight is you can still buy the trail book and just take a picture of every single page, and then you've got that with you and you don't have to carry the book and you still save weight. Guthooks is a good app. All Trails is another app, and I just recently found one called maps.me, and what you do is find the GPS map online that some person has kindly uploaded. Usually it's local trail groups and things, and it's usually done with the smaller trails. You download that file and then you upload that to maps.me. It's a bit less user friendly than something like Guthooks and All Trails. Really handy nonetheless, because I did notice that the trail I want to go on soon isn't actually on Guthooks, so I'm using maps.me, and I've also bought the trail guide, which I will be doing the picture trick with. Safety. I do have a lot of people who say, oh my gosh, you go out all on your own. Like, yeah, I know, it's almost like women can do shit now. Don't know if they mean it like that, I'm just being cheeky. I think they're kind of in awe sometimes and they think that they couldn't do it themselves. Here are a couple of things that you can counteract other people telling you that you shouldn't do it, and B, just to alleviate some of your worries. Be aware of your surroundings as much as possible. That includes trying not to listen to super loud music as you're walking along. If you must, use one headphone and then you can listen to your music or a podcast or whatever. I'd probably try and avoid wearing both. Just be aware of what's going on and try to keep concentration. So try and keep concentration on the ground, try and keep concentration of things that are around you. I know, hiking many miles every single day, you tend to zone out sometimes, but just try and maintain as much as possible. Also looking into the weather, mountain weather reports, because the weather up in the mountains can be way different from what it is in that almost exact same location but just lower ground. So yeah, okay, look at the area and the town or the county or whatever that you're going to be in, but also check the mountain reports as well. You can also get GPS trackers that bounce your location back to people. Many of them work in lots and lots of different ways. There's so many on the market to choose from, so I'd go and have a look at some of those. If you get a funny feeling about an area or a person, just leave. There's a lot to be said about gut feeling. I think that we naturally pick up on things because we're attuned to our surroundings more than we think we are. It's like a little extra sense, and I think that's different to just having normal worries and fears about things. A gut feeling to me feels very, very different, and if I ever have that, I'm not worried about leaving the area to set up camp somewhere else, or I'm not worried about being rude to someone because I don't want to be around them or anything like that. That's definitely something to get over. Don't worry about appearing rude. If you don't want to be somewhere and you don't want to do something, don't do it. With social media, don't tell people live where you are. Don't put up a live story and say, I'm at such and such area. Don't geotag yourself in real time. Tell people after the fact, or lag your videos if you're uploading videos, things like that. Again, I admit my limitations to myself. I try not to do things out of pride. If something is becoming way too challenging for you and you're completely out of your depth, don't be afraid to turn around. You haven't failed, you haven't done anything wrong, there's no shame in it. You just make sure that you come out of that situation safely and alive. It can be a pain, it can be a bit crap, you know, your brain tells you all those stories, but please just accept your limitations. And if weather turns bad on you all of a sudden, that kind of thing, just leave. For all you ladies who especially get asked why you would want to go and do that kind of thing and get told that women shouldn't be doing this kind of thing, not on their own, they need people with them, blah blah blah, go and watch my Big Sister Talk video, because I bring up a number of points about this, not to mention the fact that most women are killed by intimate partners or people that they know. Technically, you're probably actually less safe in your home with your spouse than you are on the trail. God, that's depressing. Periods. I feel like this is a topic all in and of itself. I tend to use tampons. I'm a bit old school like that. I am considering getting some period underwear in the future, but it's just a bit of an investment. And also I have very heavy periods. If you use tampons like me, pack all of your tampons out. There are other options, like I just mentioned, period panties, for example, or moon cups. Also, remember that when you're bleeding, you are technically losing fluid. You will become more dehydrated on your period, not to mention that your body temperature is higher. Again, you'll become more dehydrated that way. So make sure you're drinking plenty more fluids. And just have a general little wash, you know, at the end of the day. It's not necessary, but just keeps you feeling nice and stops any bacteria and things gathering up, like I mentioned before in the hygiene section of the video. I think I've mentioned everything that I came here to mention. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and I will just make another video with more answers on frequently asked questions. If you have any tips or advice for budding hikers or budding through hikers yourself, then please write them in the comments section. Thank you for watching. If you liked, please like it, please subscribe, please turn on the notifications, please share in many forums. Please help me with the algorithm gods. And I'm off to go and have a shazawa while I still can before my next hike and eat.